If you haven't heard about Hogwarts Legacy, it means you are either meditating on top of a mountain for the past few weeks, or you're one of those degenerate, disgusting, horrible people that go outside and do things, like touching grass. But for those of us who don't, we've had to deal with this game and the online discourse that it spawned. I've never really been a Harry Potter fan, so I never had any intention of playing the new Wizard game. Nonetheless, for some people, playing the game just seems to be a biological imperative, to the point where they'll try to find any excuse under the sun to buy it. But why would they need an excuse to play a game, you might ask? Well, this is because some people think that you shouldn't actually buy the game for a variety of reasons. For starters, J.K. Rowling will be making money from this game through royalties since she created the Harry Potter universe, and in case you didn't know, she's a TERF. She'll constantly whine on Twitter about how oppressed she is for being a biological woman, and that sexual deviants are putting on dresses to look at women in bathrooms, then kill them, or something. I forget how exactly that one fanfiction she wrote goes, but suffice to say, she's very scared of trans women for no good reason. And in case you were wondering, trans people are actually much more likely to be victims of murder and assault, and letting trans teens use their preferred bathroom actually reduces the likelihood that they'll be assaulted. Because she's a TERF, there was an initial push to boycott the game so that it wouldn't make much money. Later, after the developers added a trans character to the game, it was found that in the game files this character was named rather suspiciously. This, along with the obvious anti-Semitic dog whistles in the game, led even more leftists and especially trans people to argue that people shouldn't financially support this game. Of course, no one expected the game to flop completely, but if the push to boycott the game reduced its revenue by even $1 million or so, it would already get the message across. This would also have the added benefit of sending a message to people who want to stream the game and game studios alike that financially supporting a transphobe shouldn't be socially acceptable. But this initial push was promptly stopped in its tracks by leftists for whom playing this game is apparently a biological imperative. Interestingly, there was way more focus on justifying playing the game and whining about the boycott than on actually criticizing Rowling, the game studio, or bringing positive attention to trans causes in any way. It would be incredibly naive to expect everyone to go about this movement in the most tactful manner, but the same is true for literally any movement. I don't see leftist streamers claiming that we should stop pushing for left-wing ideas altogether because some leftists might be mean online. Still, not everyone had shit takes on this issue. Here's Vosh talking about this effort to boycott the game.
The goal is to just get so many people talking about all of this that it becomes like an issue for discourse. That's it. You have to understand, getting attention to an issue is like rolling a snowball down a hill, okay? The more attention is given to an issue, the more people talk about it, the more people do stuff about it, the more likely it is that in the future more exacerbating incidents will take place. That there will be more like, like more rocks thrown in the pond. The idea is that like you kick the ball rolling until like everyone's in a giant tumult over, like, think of what Republicans do with the gay grooming panic, huh? Right? This wasn't even a thing in its current form. This was not a thing 3 years ago. The idea that like drag queen, panic, trans child, blah, blah, grooming. This is a totally manufactured thing. So how do you start it? Well, you take a couple of high profile incidents and you milk as much attention from them as you can, knowing that after doing so, you make it a public issue and that encourages other people to make it their own thing. And now they have successfully...
Oh, sorry. I have the wrong clip. This is actually Vosh talking about the art gallery protests by Just Stop Oil, an activist group funded by an oil hair and which accepts Ethereum as donations. On October 2022, some protesters threw soup at a painting and then glued themselves under the painting. Vosh defends their actions despite the fact that they accomplished literally nothing and were in fact counterproductive. People Googled them more, sure, but that initial spike in popularity was quick to fade away. A whopping and unprecedented 0 policies were changed after this protest, and the public reaction was very negative, with most people and media outlets criticizing the protesters. Oh, and also they were arrested. Listen, I'm obviously not saying that everything Just Stop Oil does is bad, or that all protests and civil disobedience is useless. Whether a protest is commendable or reprehensible is obviously something that should be analyzed on a case-by-case basis. But this is clearly an instance of a protest that was not only useless but counterproductive. Yet Bosch still defends it for bringing attention to climate change, even though it actually didn't, and because he believes the protesters' hearts were in the right place. Although I disagree with him, if his response to this protest is any indication, I'm sure he's also going to be charitable to the people pushing to boycott Hogwarts Legacy, and he'll show his support because they're at least trying to bring attention to trans culture.
You guys are idiots. You're so stupid. You moron. You simpleton. You troglodyte.
So, yeah. If you do a protest that's counterproductive, you're actually really cool for at least trying. But if you don't want to buy the game with transphobic and racist undertones and think it should be socially unacceptable to make a transphobe wealthier, you're actually ontologically evil. Thank you, Wash. Very cool. Here's a trophy for you. Of course Wash isn't going to have a consistent take on this. He's just a petty rich asshole defending another petty rich asshole. Again. He then goes on to repeat the excuse Hassan gave of playing the game to raise money for trans charity. The way they talk about this makes it seem like they would be able to raise $1 million for trans causes by playing Hogwarts Legacy, but if they tried to raise money without playing the game, they'd only get like $10. Except that Hassan was actually already able to raise $1 million for charity without playing Hogwarts Legacy, and Keffels was also able to raise $200,000 a few months back, which just further proves that this is an excuse for a petty rich asshole to pull a Pingu. Bosch also makes the hilarious argument that streamers playing the game would actually reduce the number of people buying the game because they could just watch the gameplay stream or videos.
No! Watching a streamer play a game does the opposite! It would mean a ton of lefties in his community would see him play it and make fun of it. He would make money for trans people off of, like, mocking the game.
This argument is wrong. So wrong, in fact, that game producers themselves recognize that gameplay videos are essentially just free advertisement, even if they might not fall under fair use. Among Us is a great example of a game that exploded in popularity specifically because of content creators. So no, actually. Them playing the game would still increase its popularity and just further reinforce the idea that it's fine to monetarily support a transphobic and anti-Semitic game. Look, again, I don't expect Rowling to become homeless overnight because of a boycott, or that everyone will suddenly start supporting trans people because of this. But it's through movements like this and media coverage of such efforts that public discourse changes. We've been able to substantially change public discourse surrounding sexual assault, homophobia and police brutality through small and incremental efforts, and this boycott could have been yet another small step in the right direction to make it clear that transphobia shouldn't be socially acceptable, but whatever effect it could have had has been promptly cooked by infighting and self-sabotaging on the left, all because some people were just that desperate to play a game. Some people might even suggest that it's morally justifiable to wait for a few weeks until the game is cracked and download the game from the 7 Seas without giving your money to Rowling. Not me, of course. I love legal methods of purchasing electronic goods and would never endorse piracy. Please YouTube, don't kill me.